6:05 right now. Aloha, everybody. Good evening, and thanks for joining us. I think at this point, we should probably get started. We want to be respectful of everybody's time. As we know, nobody wants to stay here for too long this evening. My name is Shane Peters, Peters Communications. I'm a consultant for the Mountain View Solar Plus Storage project. First of all, welcome everybody for the last meeting of the year regarding this project, and happy holidays. First thing I wanted to do is just quickly introduce the team. With us this evening is Kirsten Punu, Community Engagement Manager for AES. We also have Mr. Nick Molinari, Senior Project Manager for AES. And finally, Dr. Tricia Kehaulani Watson of Honua Consulting, and she will be serving as our moderator this evening, in addition to modeling a lovely pair of reindeer antlers. With that, Kirsten, can we get started and we can get to the next slide?
Sure.
So before we get started, a couple of housekeeping things. First thing is, if you guys should already be aware and should have received a notice, but tonight's meeting is being recorded. Couple of things with regards to Q&A. We obviously, as a project team, value your questions and comments, and largely that's what this meeting is about. So we welcome your questions and comments. You are welcome to write those in to the Q&A box, which is located at the bottom of the screen. We can take questions as well as comments in that function, and we'll try to get through all of those. In addition, for those of you who would rather speak directly to the audience and to us, please use the raise hand function, and we will recognize you. And if you also would like to appear on video, we will promote you to a panelist so that we can enable your video as well. Please note that if you do want to appear on video, there's a little bit of a lag. It will kind of kick you off and then bring you back onto the platform as part of the functionality of Zoom. So our apologies, just bear with us when we do that. For tonight's agenda, we're going to have a presentation that will run about a half an hour. And then the vast majority of this evening will be dedicated to taking your questions and really gathering your feedback. Next slide, please. So again, just to sort of reiterate why we're here today, this is part of an ongoing series of community meetings that AES has conducted, and it's really about listening. It's about us providing updates to the extent that they're available, but primarily we want to gather your feedback, hear from you, answer questions, and really take to heart everybody's mana'o regarding this project. So we really appreciate everybody taking time out of their busy days to join us this evening. So with that, we can get started. I'm going to turn it over to Kirsten now to begin the presentation. Kirsten?
Hello, Shane. Thank you so much. Again, as Shane stated, I'm Kirsten Punu. I'm a Community Engagement Manager for AES Clean Energy. We develop solar and solar plus storage projects across Hawaii, and we greatly appreciate your time this evening, especially so close to the holidays. So thank you very much. So I am located here on the island of Oahu, and the project emails do come to me as well as to several other members of our team. We will post that project email again later in the presentation. You should have received it as part of the registration, and it's always available on our website, but that email is aesmountainviewsolar@aes.com. And again, we'll have that later in the presentation as well. So thank you for attending our 4th community meeting this year. We've received a lot of feedback, and we look forward to continuing to receive your feedback and input throughout this process. So I'm going to start by orienting you to the proposed project area. For those of you who have seen this presentation before, thank you for bearing with us. The project area in the yellow on the screen is the Mountain View Farms. So the site is at the Mountain View Farms, which is formerly the Mountain View Dairy. The area in yellow represents the nearly 200 acres that make up the farm. The area in blue on your screen is the approximately 100-acre project area. That's where we've kind of focused our due diligence and studies. And then within that project area, the area in green is the area that's envisioned for the proposed solar panels themselves. As you'll see in the slides to follow, the area that's envisioned for the solar panels will be not the entire project area, but a fraction of the almost 200 acres that makes up Mountain View Farms. We have received feedback identifying some concerns and community issues that were raised as a result and that were related to the neighboring Eurus Energy YNI or EEYNI solar farm, which you can see is located right next door. While we can't speak for that development, that was developed by a separate developer and is now being operated by a separate operator. We are sensitive to these issues, and we'll talk about some of these later tonight, later in the presentation, such as construction, traffic, dust, etc. We truly want to do a better job. We want to do a good job and be a good neighbor. And that's precisely why we're here today, to collect your input and to incorporate that. And your input really is very critical to guiding the process. So again, thank you so much for your time. Okay, so the project is made up of a 7-megawatt solar photovoltaic system, or a PV system, combined with a 35 megawatt hour battery energy storage system. This project together will generate clean and locally produced renewable energy that will then be delivered to Hawaiian Electric Company to serve their customers across the, in this area and across the island. This project does directly help to further the state's 100% renewable energy mandate. The panels, as we mentioned, will be located on an area less than the 100-acre project area, and will supply power to Hawaiian Electric Company through a 25-year power purchase agreement, or PPA. That is, again, a temporary use of this site. After the 25 years, that power purchase agreement ends, and we are required to decommission the project or take it away and restore the land to its existing condition or comparable. The project does require operation by 2023 to replace electricity electric generation that will be lost as a result of closure of fossil fuel plants. I'll turn it over to Nick now to talk a bit more about the project details. Nick? And please introduce yourself. I'm sorry.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Nick Molinari, Project Development Manager with AES. And as Kirsten and Shane said, thank you very much for taking time out of your schedules so close to the holidays and allowing us to be here tonight. So I wanted to point out some of the key components of the project. I'll show some photographs on the next slide so you can really visualize what the equipment looks like. But most of what you're seeing on the screen, those black boxes that the cursor is pointing to, those are the solar panels, and you can see they're just dispersed throughout the property. Scattered throughout those solar panels are battery energy storage containers. And then the project also includes a new substation where the power is stepped up to a voltage that it can connect to Hawaiian Electric's grid. And it runs to the grid on a new transmission line that connects to the existing transmission line. So again, this is a preliminary conceptual site plan. We're really hoping that we can improve this and do better with this. We've gotten good feedback. We're continuing to work with some of that feedback and also a number of studies and things that we're learning about the site to come back to you with something better. So any feedback you have tonight or questions you have or concerns you have with this, we certainly welcome. And as we go forward, the goal is to make this conceptual plan better. Next slide, please. All right, so here's a couple of photographs. You can see what the equipment looks like. So in the top left is a photo of the solar panels. These are your standard panels, just like the ones you see on rooftops of homes. Nothing really unique about the panels here that are proposed for the project. What is unique here is the battery system. So in the bottom right, that's a picture of the battery containers. The batteries themselves are actually loaded inside these containers, as you can see there. So the battery aspect of this is, what really makes the project unique. Traditional solar farms, a lot of the solar farms that were built several years ago, when the sun's out, they're producing energy and delivering it to the grid, whether or not it's even needed. With the battery aspect, the energy that the panels produce can actually be stored in these batteries, and batteries can be discharged at nighttime or times when it's actually needed. So for example, at night when people come home, turn on their fans, their appliances or whatnot, and the electricity, on the grid kind of ramps up, rather than having to ramp up burning of fossil fuels, clean energy that's stored in these batteries can be discharged to meet that demand. So what, the photo shows kind of inside one of the containers, and you can see those little black modules are the batteries, but from the outside, it looks just like a 40-foot shipping container. But it is a fully integrated smart unit with built-in HVAC to keep the batteries cool, advanced system of controls, alarms, and sensors to make sure everything is operating safely and efficiently, as well as a built-in fire suppression system. So I'll talk a little bit more about this, because this has been something that community members have raised as a concern. But the containers themselves actually include this built-in fire suppression system, so that if there were an event with one of the batteries, this system would automatically kick in and would contain it to within the unit. As you can see, these batteries are mounted on concrete pads, and each pad is surrounded by a non-vegetated fire break, usually gravel. This photo was taken probably during construction, that's why it's dirt there, but a gravel or a non-combustible material would surround all these pads, just for another layer of fire protection. Next slide.
Thanks, Nick. So, AES is very committed to promoting job opportunities and employment opportunities within the community. We've heard a lot of feedback, and we understand that there is a real desire for this community in particular to gain skills and take advantage of this statewide effort to transition away from fossil fuels and toward renewable energy. So this project, the construction and development of this project, will result in approximately 200 full-time equivalent jobs, and will contribute to economic opportunity in the community of approximately $45 million. The purpose of building projects like these is really to generate clean, renewable, locally produced energy and enable directly enable the closure of fossil fuel plants on the island and in this region. So renewable energy projects like these were selected by Hawaiian Electric Company all across Oahu and really across the state and will assist with the elimination of the need to continue the operation of fossil fuel plants, which burn oil and coal in order to generate electricity on the island. It's anticipated that this project alone will result in 872 almost 873,000 barrels of oil over the project's lifetime avoided. That's oil that doesn't have to be shipped here, stored here, or burned here in Hawaii. And this will naturally reduce greenhouse gas emissions, which have been attributed to climate change, as well as a variety of health and other environmental concerns. So the energy produced will be delivered to Hawaiian Electric Company, as Nick discussed, through those existing power lines, and will provide a source of power for the equivalent of the equivalent of 5,000 Hawaii homes. This is calculated, I believe, using an estimated home monthly use of about 500 kilowatt hours. And I think on our, we have Kurt Sue here from Hawaiian Electric Company who may be available to answer questions toward the end of the presentation. And I believe the last time we presented, he mentioned that, you can go online, Hawaiian Electric Company, and search for, understand your bill. And it shows you really how you can see how much energy you're using kind of in an average month. But this is calculated by an average 500 kilowatt hours a month. The project will sell power at a fixed low-cost price of 13 cents a kilowatt hour to Hawaiian Electric Company. This price stays fixed. It doesn't increase, it doesn't fluctuate, it doesn't change over the 25 years that the project is in operation. This kind of is in contrast to fossil fuel pricing, which it changes, it fluctuates, and it has historically trended upward or gotten more expensive, which translates to higher electricity prices. So it's anticipated that this stable, low-cost pricing of this and other renewable energy projects across the island and the state will eventually help to stabilize and lower electricity costs for everyone over time. This is something that we received a lot of good feedback on. We understand it's very important for this area in particular to preserve to preserve and have long-term stability for food production and farming operations. This project will enable the production, the preservation and continued production of food here at Mountain View Farms. Farming and agriculture is very often a labor of love. It's often difficult and costly. And the existing landowner has been a farm operator for over 71 years here at Mountain View Farms, and then formerly as Mountain View Dairy. So, he has expressed to us that this project will provide an important and additional source of revenue for his farming operations and allow him to continue to produce food here. We are also working together and coordinating closely with the landowner to make sure that the projects will stay sited on the portions of the property that he's not currently using, that has the lowest rated soil conditions, and is currently underutilized. So again, this partnership really is one of the few opportunities that we know of and see here on the island that will support agriculture and renewable energy. And it's not a choice between the two. It's really intertwined here. Okay, I'll turn it over to Nick now to talk about some more of the feedback that we've received.
Thanks, Kirsten. I wanted to acknowledge some of the feedback and areas of concern that community members have expressed in past community meetings, and kind of outline some of the steps that we're taking to be responsive to those concerns. So we understand that this area has a history of brush fire. This is a concern that's come up very often. We're incredibly sensitive to this, and we're committed to maintaining vegetation both in and around the project area. That would be an active vegetation management plan for the life of the project. either through grazing or mowing to keep the vegetation down. Other design features such as fire breaks would be incorporated. So that would be, fire breaks around the perimeter of the project, as well as around certain key components. Like we showed the photo earlier with the battery pads, making sure there's a non-vegetated fire break around those. And then again, the built-in fire suppression system that is integrated with the battery containers. So multiple levels of fire protection. Is my connection okay? Can you folks hear me? Kirsten, can you hear me okay? Okay.
It was a little, it was stuttering a little bit, but you're okay now.
Okay, all right, thank you. If anyone missed anything and wants to, in Q&A, I can speak, I can repeat anything that was missed. Sorry about that. Secondly, traffic, we understand that, no one likes traffic, and, we don't want to make it worse. In response to feedback that we've received, we are committed to not using Piliuka Place for construction traffic. And that's in direct response to feedback that was received. So thank you for that. We would implement a traffic management plan. This would include, before I get into that, I just should also note, a traffic study was conducted looking at various intersections and, entrance points to the site. And ultimately it determined that, there would be no impact by utilizing Waianae Valley Road to enter and exit the project site during construction. But that being said, we would still include a traffic management plan that would include things like, big deliveries, keeping those to off-peak hours so we're not jamming up rush hour, on-site staging, parking, containing everything to within the site, and other best management practices to make sure we're not causing a traffic nuisance during construction. Once the project's operational, it's really a passive system. So there's no, increase in traffic over time. There's really not much coming and going. On average, 2 to 4 vehicles a day. We've mentioned previously that we've engaged Tricia and Hanua Consulting for consultation and collaboration with lineal cultural descendants, individuals with knowledge of not just this project area, but the entire Ahupua'a. Cultural impact assessment has been conducted and is still being conducted. So I know a number of people have requested to participate, and if there's folks on here that would like to, that haven't, please feel free to drop your info in the chat, and someone will follow up. Next slide. Some other considerations, things that people have brought up: heat, wind, dust, and visual impacts. These are all things that, as we try to refine the project design and make it better, we're taking these things into account. And again, this isn't meant to be an exhaustive list of everything. If there's other things, please, again, tonight's about listening, so please feel free to speak up. And as we continue to revise the plan, we'd certainly do that with your concerns and considerations in mind.
Thank you, Nick. So again, in order to help the community better understand what the project would look like, we went out and we did some visual simulations. So we'll show you some of these. We'll flip through these pretty quickly. Again, the focal lens of the camera when we take these photos is supposed to mimic what you would see if you were just standing there and looking at this view with the naked eye. So you'll see the existing condition at Pokai Bay. And then here the simulated condition, and then because it's difficult to see sometimes, we just highlighted it in yellow. So I'll flip back and forth for a couple of these. This is taken from Piliuka Place. This is the existing condition. And that's the simulated condition. And again, there's that yellow area just to kind of highlight that. This is taken from Alahema Street. Here in the foreground is that existing Eurus Energy project. So that's there today. And that's the simulated condition. And there's kind of the highlighted area there. This is off Waianae Valley Road. You can see those existing poles there. That's the simulated condition. And then you can see the yellow highlighted areas there. Kamaile Academy, existing, simulated, and there's that yellow highlight there. And finally, from Kaupuni Neighborhood Park, here's the existing condition, and this is simulated. What this shows here is that from this particular viewpoint, because of the topography and the existing vegetation, you're not expected to see the project at all from this point. So I'll have Nick go over where we are in the timeline.
Thanks, Kirsten. So again, we're committed to working with the community to develop this project responsibly. We've extended the time for due diligence, consultation, design and redesign, because we're trying to be responsive, even if it takes longer and pushes our timeline out. There is a approvals process. So in addition to these kind of talk story sessions, the project does require a conditional use permit from the city. There's an opportunity for public input there. Hawaiian Electric will also be, filing an application with the Public Utilities Commission for the interconnection of the project. These things are expected first part of next year. Again, our goal is to work with you to address your concerns and develop this responsibly. But just know that in addition to these sessions, there's also opportunities through the approvals process to provide your feedback. Construction wouldn't begin until all permits and approvals were obtained. The actual construction period would be anywhere from 6 to 9 months, and then a period of testing and commissioning for a couple months thereafter. Our guaranteed operations date is May of 2023. So the goal would be to build the project and bring it online to start delivering clean energy by May of 2023. And then it would run for a period of 25 years, delivering fixed energy price to Hawaiian Electric. And at the end of that period, as was mentioned earlier in the presentation, the components would be decommissioned and the land would be restored to its existing or comparable condition. Next slide. So in summary, we thank you again and welcome questions, concerns. We really want to hear from you. Overall, the project, would generate 200 local jobs, for $45 million in economic output. These jobs are, construction jobs as well as indirect jobs. So jobs that, might not actually be on site turning wrenches and whatnot, but consultation, permitting, material supply, basically broader effects in the local economy as a direct result of the project. It would power the equivalent of 5,000 homes and ultimately would help facilitate the transition to clean energy rather than burning fossil fuels, and it would help the island self-sustain itself through clean energy rather than having to ship oil onto the island. And again, this project, the lease revenue from this project for the farmer would enable the farmer to continue and preserve his operations to deliver food and agricultural operations to the community.
So again, mahalo, thank you so much for your time, especially so close to the end of the year. Here's that email address that I talked about earlier, AES Mountain View Solar at aes.com. Please, don't view these talk story sessions as the only way to get in touch with us. We also have a dedicated website, www.aesmountainviewsolar.com, where we have, we post project updates from time to time, the registration links for these events, and there's a kind of submit web form there. So thank you again. And that concludes our presentation. And I think I'll turn it over to Kehaulani to start us off on our question and answer period.
Hi, again, good evening, everybody. Thank you all for joining us. Sorry, my Q&A hid from me for a second. So again, we didn't open the chat per se, but you are absolutely welcome to put in chat, comment. I see some of you folks doing it already. We're going to go through these in chronological order. I apologize, we don't, we're just doing it this way, but it does make sure that we can answer every single question and in order of receiving it. And again, as we said earlier, if any of you want to make a comment, just raise your hand. We will give you sort of the ability to provide your comment. And if you want to come on video, it just takes me a minute. I need to change basically your status. And again, as Shane said, it'll boot you out for a second, but it'll bring you right back. So we're happy to do it. So I'm just going to read through the comments like we did last time. The first comment is, I liked the existing and simulated condition presentation. It is helpful. So thank you for that. I don't know if that wasn't a question, so I'm just going to go on to the next. And you can see all the open questions and our answered questions in the Q&A function as well. So the next question, what will be the normal working hours at the project site? Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. What about weekend work? Will weekend work be done if the project schedule is delayed? I'm going to give that to Nick.
Sure.
Looks excited to answer it.
Well, I'm trying to keep my composure with the Rudolph.
And they make noise. There's bells. So this is, I am not like a dress up ever person. So this is the one time of year. So.
Well, maybe if we're still here, if we do one of these at Halloween time, I'll look forward.
I think
to
you're more closer to get me to bunny ears for Easter than Halloween, but we'll see. We'll discuss it. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, sorry. Thanks for the question. Great question. Construction activity would be between the hour Monday to Friday, typically from the hours of 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Those would be the normal work hours. No weekend work is anticipated, even if the project is delayed. If there was, again, there's no expectation that we would do that we would need to do weekend work or would want to do weekend work. If that was something that was being considered, there would absolutely be notice to the community and an opportunity to discuss that with the community. But at this time, no plan to work outside of Monday to Friday during the day.
Okay, thank you. Next question. It's not really a question, it's a comment. Aloha, I'm completely new to this project. I have watched various videos on your folks' site educating myself about this topic. I would love to learn more about how this has an impact on our ahupua'a. And then the email. So Kristen, can I trust you to take the email and then just add it to the newsletter? And then we'll absolutely be in touch with you. So I think it'll be Patrick most likely reaching out. So we look forward to talking to you more. Thank you for so much. Okay, next. Are the panels, inverters, and lithium-ion batteries made in the USA? If not, where is the source?
I can take that one. Those components specifically are not manufactured in the United States. The source, we haven't finalized the equipment selection, but typically it would be from Korea or Vietnam. Okay.
I would like to note, I got a comment on the antlers. So I'm just saying the antlers are cool. We should all be reindeer. Thank you for that picture. I was looking at the simulation and I didn't understand, but I do now. Mahalo for that, Kristen. Good job. Thank you. Okay, done. Okay, another question. From the satellite imagery, it appears that the eastern part of the PV array will be on both sides of the natural drainage way. There appears to be a lithium-ion battery container very close to this drainage way. What rate of return rainfall was used to ensure that the battery does not receive catastrophic floodwaters? 50-year, 100-year, 1/2 PMF, or full PMF? Why did you choose the designated return period? What could happen if the battery experiences 1 foot of water around its base? Would it be smarter to move the battery to the Malka area of this specific area? If a container is water compromised, are there any hazard contaminants which could flow to the ocean? I'll put out that it's also written in case you need to revisit it, Nick, but Nick, go for it.
Okay, great questions. I'll do my best. We might have to break it down into individual questions. That's an important observation that regarding the the drainage ways. That's something that we've have taken very seriously as we've looked at the design, and are taking seriously as we continue to refine the design. We looked at a 100-year flood event, and I just want to emphasize too that the site plan is not final. So this is very much open to improvement, and I appreciate the suggestion. We don't have any intention of putting assets like lithium-ion battery container in areas that have any exposure or risk to flooding or failure. I would say these units are we have a number of these deployed throughout the United States and throughout Hawaii. Many in very rainy, wet climates, and so they're specifically designed to be protected from water seepage or water damage. The battery, I think we showed the photo of the concrete pad, so they are elevated off the ground, and the containers are sealed. The individual battery modules are actually enclosed in aluminum canister. So it's a very safe and resilient unit as far as safety and environmental hazards goes. But again, the intent with design, and this design isn't final, but the intent with the design is to make sure these things are placed in areas where they're not going to be at risk of flooding.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. My husband came and offered me pie as you were talking. So, okay, sorry. Sorry. Okay, if there was a follow-up from the person who made it who still had follow-up questions, please just put that in. Otherwise, I'm going to put it as answered. Will there be visual permits approved online for the public to see?
Perhaps I can help with that. Typically specifically for this project, it requires what is called a conditional use permit minor. It is not always posted by the city and county of Honolulu or DPP generally. And even if it is, sometimes it's complicated to find. What I think our project team is committed to doing is to posting our application once it's been prepared to the website, and or providing links on our website to ensure that everybody has access to it, and a meaningful way to both examine and review the application as well as provide comments. So thank you for that.
Sorry, I muted myself. If a container is water compromised, are there any hazardous contaminants which could flow to the ocean?
I can take that one. So again, batteries, lithium-ion batteries have acid cobalt, nickel, various substances. But again, they're designed to be safe and secure, and mounted and set in a place where there's, in the event that there was a seepage, which again it's designed not to, that it wouldn't be at risk of running off into a drainage way.
Okay. Did we want to have Kurt just come on and say hello? We don't have any more questions, but that might be Kurt. I'm gonna actually promote you to panelist so everybody can see your happy face. Sorry, I think it's booting him out and bringing him back. Okay, or maybe I did it wrong. I think I did it right. Oh, I hope I didn't. I know he was having trouble connecting. Okay, so we don't have Kurt. We don't have any more questions either. So I'm going to give you folks a few minutes. Oh, there he is. Okay, I didn't do it wrong. And that's why we sort of just promote people to talk, because it does take a minute. Hi, Kurt.
Hi, aloha everyone. Kurt Sui from Hwan Electric on standby if anyone has any utility related questions. Mahalo.
Thank you. Okay, it's Christmas. I know you folks have shopping and wrapping and things to do, so I don't want to keep anyone longer than we need to, but I want to make sure we're asking all the questions. Kristen, why don't you give them the website and the email address again, just in case there's anything.
Absolutely. So the website is AES Mountain View Solar at AES.com. Again, AES Mountain View Solar is all one word, no spaces, at A for Apple, E for Elephant, S for Sam.com. I don't know the proper Roman language, so I apologize if I said that wrong.
Oh, we have another question.
One more question, yes.
Yeah, that's why we wait. Do you think the community would feel comfortable without public permits being easily accessible for people to easily understand and feel safe about this project being performed? I understand, but what about those who may be hoo-hoo about this? Hoo-hoo is like, they might not like it.
Wow, that's a loose translation, I think.
I know that. I mean, yeah, yeah. I figure not everybody doesn't use the word hoo-hoo as often as I do. So
thanks for translating.
Yeah.
That's a great question. As I said earlier, AES takes its kuleana very seriously as it relates to transparency, disclosure, and having open channels of communication with the community. So we are committed to ensuring that we post our application on the website and ensure that we continually update the community as we hit certain milestones. So please don't feel like this is going to be the only venue that you're going to have to opine or to understand or learn more about the project. We will ensure that if the city does not post the permit itself, that we find a way to get that to you guys no matter what. So we really appreciate your question. Thank you.
I'm happy to translate. Yes, hoo-hoo is one of my more favorite Hawaiian words. So we have one for Kurt. So will he go? Oh, sorry. Okay. So happy to translate. Okay. Aloha, Kurt. Will HECO pursue more solar and storage and wind projects? Which does HECO prefer and why? What about pumped up hydro or gravity as storage systems which don't take farmland or nor endanger fauna?
Oh, thank you for the question. From Hawaiian Electric's perspective, we're open to all renewable technology. And so there really isn't a preference of one over another. We are very much working towards collectively reaching our 100% renewable energy goals and decarbonizing our energy system. And so right now, some technologies are more affordable than others with respect to construction and credits. Solar and wind happen to be the technologies that are currently more available because of the cost perspective, and certainly the technologies like wave technology and pump storage hydroelectric are all viable. They work, but they may not be feasible from a cost perspective. So when we put out these requests for proposals, it isn't really specific to any particular technology, renewable technology. We are looking from an affordability standpoint and looking for projects that help to stabilize our customers' energy bills. And so that's what is looked for in the evaluation process when proposers propose projects like this one. And with respect to solar plus storage, so the storage has an advantage in the ability to store the excess energy during the day for usage throughout. That's not always being used. Feeding energy back into the system. So the storage does help with regards to the management of the grid and stabilizing the grid. But again, just to answer the question, no preference of technology over one or over the other. A lot of the technologies have different benefits and trade-offs that are very much a part of our community conversations as we move forward. But ultimately, I think it's going to take everything, in terms of all options in order for us to reach these ambitious renewable goals, including rooftop solar. And I know we talked about that at our last meeting, but that we need to increase the number of homes that have rooftop solar in addition to renewable projects as well.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, again, we're out of questions, so I want to make sure I give everybody a couple minutes. If there's any last comments, questions, I don't see any hands raised. We would love to hear from you. And if you're a little shy at the moment, or you think of something a little later tonight, please reach out to us anytime at the email. Patrick, who works with us at Honua, is regularly out in the community. We're happy to sit down and talk anytime. So, and we look forward to doing so for those who put up their email addresses tonight and having that conversation. I'm just sort of stalling and vamping to see if anybody has questions at this point. So it doesn't look like it. So I think we're gonna call it an evening, and I just want to wish everybody a super happy and healthy and safe holiday season with whatever you celebrate. And we look forward to seeing everybody in the new year. Shane, Kurt, Nick, Kristen, anybody, anything from you folks?
Just echo your sentiments. Mahalo and happy holidays, everybody. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Kehalani made me hungry for pie, so I think I'm going to go have some. And thank you again for joining us during your evening hour. Mahalo.
Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening. Take care. Be safe.
Good night. Mahalo.